Robin, did you give Joe the day off?
He's in Cali.
Oh, wow.
He's where?
Well, now that
Robin,
we're
did you
now
give
that we're
Joe-
live, I'm not going to repeat myself.
Okay, all right, never mind.
Somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
Out of town.
All right, we are
Okay.
live.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Do we have anyone joining us on Zoom? Robin?
It looks like Mr. Rubis is going to join us as a panelist, and that's all I have.
Okay. Very good. I don't know about you, but I'm in a wonderful relationship with our air conditioner. Looks like maybe next week the relationship won't be quite as thick.
Staying cool outside of Old Pond School.
Yeah, there I am. There, right. Anyone else have any comments before we really get started?
Yeah, I would like to know if Pond School is air conditioned because the historical, one of the I guess the kids for this Route 66 committee, whatever we're calling them, are meeting there, and it's going to be pretty hot. Robin, do you know?
I believe it is, but I will be going by there tomorrow to make sure everything's good for our meeting. And we have a backup space if it's not.
Please make sure it's on.
Okay, well, maybe have roll call, Robin.
All right, Commissioner Hensick,
Present.
Chair Stevens,
Here.
Secretary Scott,
Here,
Commissioner Hammond, Commissioner Roughton,
Here,
Secretary Bockert,
present.
Commissioner Rubis. Well, I see him.
He's here somewhere.
Alternate Adams, alternate Quarternick, Commission Liaison Broyles,
Here.
Council Liaison Nyan,
Here.
and Council Liaison Rambo.
Here.
All right, we have quorum. In fact, we
We
have
have
a
quorum.
very full meeting.
Yes, we do.
Robin, I just got hooked up here, so Jim Rubis is here.
I got you there.
We got you. I hope you've really gone through the packet for tonight's meeting. Robin is to be commended for all of the work that she has done to get this packet together, plus the notebook for Saturday for the Route 66 task force. The information in them is phenomenal. I accused her of being the Energizer Bunny, but she denied it. But we better keep our eyes open for the pink bunny running around City Hall, because it would be Robin.
I think there's plenty of busy beavers in this.
Well, we thank you, Robin, because it's just phenomenal what you have put together for us. So with that being said, we will go into the approval of the minutes from the May 26th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to them as distributed? Well, hearing none, we will have them approved by general consent. And is there any public comment that you're aware of, Robin?
Madam Chair, I do not see any attendees in attendance.
Okay, very good. Moving on now to old business, the historic Route 66 revitalization. It's amazing what all we have done, and yet what all lies ahead of us. Would you like to give a presentation first before we get into this, Robin?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. All right, members of the commission, last month, we got some very sad news about Missouri Main Street. But as you can see, we have not lost our stride here at the Department of Planning. We are moving forward full force. And so we have some next steps to propose to you. And I've been working very hard to talk to our State Historic Preservation Office to look for opportunities to move forward with our initiative. So step one, we are proposing that we form a steering committee. This was going to be our first step with Missouri Main Street. And that committee would have gone through their training and helped lead this effort as we move forward with visioning and strategic planning. So we are proposing the same. We presented such to City Council on the 13th. And I'll be looking for probably a motion of recommendation from this group tonight to move forward with establishing that steering committee. And in your packets, I have listed a number of potential individuals to sit on it, as well as I've been keeping a list of volunteers from the community that either volunteered through my Route 66 revitalization updates or reached out to me after the engagement meeting on the April 28th. So we do have quite a few people that are interested in sitting on it. The Wildwood Historical Society at their meeting on Tuesday of this week said that they would be interested in a seat as well. So they already voted on their board that if it were offered, they will take it. So that is where we are with that. May I ask for a motion to recommend establishment of the steering committee to City Council?
I so move.
Steve Scott has made the motion. Is there a second? Jim? Any discussion on this? Okay, may we have a vote by raising your hands, please? Okay, looks like the motion passed, Robin.
All right, thank you, commissioners. All right, next step, we have been talking to our State Historic Preservation Office to identify potential funding opportunities for our Route 66 effort. This would be essentially to hire a consultant to lead us in a planning effort. They have talked about potentially funding this planning effort through one of our certified local government matching grants. So they offer up to $50,000 in a matching grant to local governments every year. I believe they're going to roll out those announcements in the very near future, and then we'll know those key target dates for applying for that grant opportunity. Then we would match them with both in-kind staffing and monetary match. So that's where I am. Within a week of Mr. Peterson starting his new position as our CLG coordinator, I sat down with him on Zoom and we had a discussion. So he's all about Wildwood. So that's where that is. They've also pointed me in the direction of a contact who just recently sat in on a Route 66 discussion at the National Trust for Historic Preservation. So I'll be reaching out to her, and there may be some opportunities from other sources that she's aware of through that. So I have some contacts in addition to this potential opportunity. So I don't need a motion for that, I don't believe. We're just going to keep plugging away at it. And then step 3, we're doing research at the moment. We're not necessarily making a recommendation to you tonight to establish a national register historic district for Route 66. But we did want to at least have the discussion and start assessing whether or not specific properties, parts of our corridor would be eligible for that process. So I've actually spoken extensively with Michelle Diedrich, who is the National Register and Survey Section Chief, about that potential. And she's given me several Route 66 reports, studies, and surveys that were done back in, I believe, 1993 and 2003. They have some interesting information included therein. I've done some cursory research. It looks like there is some mention of potentially designating or not designating. There is some mention that there could potentially be a Route 66 historical cultural landscape from Manchester Road at Ellisville to Gray Summit. However, that recommendation was made in 1993. So I am still researching through that report to see if there might be some tidbits of information to latch onto. But I did note from our own survey report that was done with our 2014-2015 inventory that 3 properties along our corridor were recommended for National Register designation. And that was Bethel Church, the 1814 St. Albans Road property, the JP Connell House that we will be talking about also in this meeting, and then Seabow's Furniture. So I just wanted to report that. So at this time, we are simply having those discussions, but I do not have any formal recommendations to offer you this evening.
Well, it's something
More
to
for
be
discussion.
excited about, that's for certain. So, Jim? You're muted. Jim, you're muted.
Hadn't talked about this in a couple months, but have the piece of property that is the old Route 66 pavement that goes from 100 to Manchester. That was, its ownership was in limbo between the state, St. Louis County, and Wildwood. Has anything come about on that to determine if Wildwood owns that piece of property? I know it's in the middle of somebody else's property. I guess we would own the easement.
At this time, I am not aware of us owning the easement through the property. Without our director here, though, I'm just going to say, don't quote me on that. But we've had discussions as a department and that was not brought up at that time. So that's just where I'm at there.
The last is that Missouri transferred it to St. Louis County.
Mhm.
And then St. Louis County transferred it to Wildwood. But there was problems with the documentation when they transferred it from the state to the county. And that's where the legal issue is
Well, if I may, how about I propose this? What I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up on that question over the next week and get back to the commission with that answer so that I can give it in a definitive form.
That's what I remember, Jim. That's what I remember discussing.
I do too. Any other discussion on this one? I'd say we're just chugging right on down the road. So that's great. The next thing is the Route 66 school engagement. Robin?
Okay. So we have a lot going on around our school engagement for Route 66. This Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will be hosting our student Route 66 task force orientation. And we will start with a brunch at Big Chief Roadhouse. And then we will go on a driving tour of our Route 66 corridor with the students. Vice Chair Scott has kindly offered his narration services once again.
I made myself available. If you need such.
We would love your narration services, but I'm sure others will also jump in and assist.
Please do.
And then we will end our task force orientation at Old Pond School, assuming air conditioning, and where Chair Stevens has graciously offered to lead us in a Robert Rules discussion and bylaws establishment with our student task force members. So lots going on, very exciting. Just to ensure I have an accurate RSVP list, can everyone here who plans to attend this Saturday let me know at this time?
Yes.
Okay,
Bob and I said that I would only be available for the first part. Right.
okay.
Madam
So-
Chair,
Yes,
may I ask a question of Robin?
certainly.
Tell me the total number of students. I think I saw 8. Was there more than 8?
There are 8 students from 5 area schools.
What I'd like to know, would it be okay if I bought something that had Route 66 on it for those 8 students?
I'm sure it would be more than okay.
I might find a pen or something, but I'll go over to the park, the Route 66 park, and see if I can find something.
Another place you can check is at, is it Ozark Land out at the Washington exit off of 44?
Oh, yes, I've not been there yet. I heard
Oh,
about
well,
that.
there's lots of 66 things in there.
Okay, thank you for that.
The department is also providing Route 66 Association of Missouri memberships to our students, and also that Wildwood Historical Society memberships as well. So
Oh, nice.
we're trying to get them fully integrated and our actors here at the table.
But of the 8 students who are on the task force, they will not all 8 be there on Saturday.
That's correct. I will only have 5 students at Saturday's orientation. We will have to do a follow-up sit down with the other students. We did our best. You saw all the polls.
Okay,
Yep.
I don't think there is anything we need to vote on for this one.
Okay, then with your permission, I will move on to the next item under the same agenda item,
Okay,
or sub item, I should say. We are recommending, as a part of this overall effort, that we add a couple youth liaisons to this commission. Our thought is that initially we would start out with 1 youth liaison, specifically from the Student Route 66 Task Force, to further integrate what they're doing with the efforts of this commission. But we felt that if we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity to amend some bylaws, why not leave the door open? So we kept it fairly vague. It's in your packets tonight, the language that we recommended. I can bring it up on the screen if you like, but we're basically wanting to add in there that this commission will have one, but not more than 2 youth liaisons that are non-voting members of it. And at the request of the chair, per Robert's rules, for tonight's meeting, we're just showing you what we're recommending and offering it for discussion. We can vote on it at the next meeting.
okay. Comments, questions on this proposal? Jim?
Would this be a mayor's appointment?
I assume so, since the mayor does all of the appointing. Yes.
So he would vet participants to select the one that he would recommend.
That's right. Like I think this commission would probably recommend that we are going to have specifically a student task force member of the Route 66 task force. But then the mayor could exercise his right to appoint that student.
Seems like I saw another hand. Anyone else?
Well, I got a question. Is this
Sure.
be permanent forever? I mean, how long do we see this Route 66 effort going on? I don't see this thing as being a permanent forever type of thing.
So if I may respond to that.
Please do.
Yes, no, we do not see the Route 66 Student Task Force being a permanent entity. That's why we would like to open the door to youth liaisons for future efforts as well, which is why we kept the language pretty vague in the bylaws, just adding to one, not more than 2 youth liaisons that would be appointed by the mayor. So down the road, we could potentially appoint any student who lives or goes to school in Wildwood. But for the time being, for our present day purposes, we're specifically looking at having a student serve from this task force.
No, that makes sense. And I think the more people, the more liaisons we can have, the more attendees we get at this meeting. Since we run a little short on the public attendees, I'd appreciate more people here listening and commenting.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? But we'll be discussing this again at the July meeting and voting at that time. So if you think of something between now and then, write it down and so that you don't forget it and bring it to the meeting next time. Thank you, Robin.
Yes, Madam Chair. And I suppose that brings us to our last item, or sub-item, I should say, under this heading. Let me just pull up my share screen here. There we go. Okay, so I just brought up the portion from your packets that talks about the proposed structure for the Student Route 66 Task Force. Essentially, we're seeing them as an independent voting entity that operates under the purview of the Historic Preservation Commission. So this gives them full independence. Only our student members will have a vote as part of this task force, and then they can make recommendations to the Historic Preservation Commission, who of course answers to City Council. So this was our idea of how it would operate within the grand scheme of things. Is the commission open to this proposed structure?
I think it makes sense because in a way that's right along with what we do. We have things and we make recommendations, then eventually they will go to the City Council. So it's just another level right below us. So I think this looks really good.
Oh, I agree.
All right, if I may, can we have a motion to approve this proposed structure for the Student Route 66 Task Force as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Jim, was that Steve that made the second or Alan?
Both of us.
I didn't say anything.
Take your pick.
Okay.
Alan has it.
Steve said he didn't say anything, so Alan, it was your second that will take.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that looks like it has passed.
Okay, that ends my presentation on that particular item.
Okay,
So I look forward to seeing everyone on Saturday who plans to attend.
looking forward to it. The work program update for Route 66 Park
Okay.
Project.
Well, Madam Chair, with your permission, I'll present on this one as well. Coming up for our Route 66 roadside park project, we are going to have 2 meetings in mid-July, one targeted to our business owners that are along that corridor, and one to the adjacent residents to the park. So I think we sent letters out to maybe 70 different individuals for our resident meeting. And those meetings are Tuesday, July 12th at 4 p.m. for our business owners. That will be here at City Hall in the community room. And our second meeting will be the very next day, Wednesday, July 13th at 6 p.m. And that will be targeted to our residents at Old Pond School. To assist with the parking matter, we will have parking available at Quest Community Church if it comes down to it. We can also get creative outside of along the drive there to Old Pond School. But we hope to invite everybody to that space on that evening.
Is that where the business meeting will be held as well?
No, the business meeting will be at City Hall in the community
Okay.
room, and the residents
Okay.
will meet at Old Pond School. And what we're asking from this commission is that we have a divide and conquer approach. You are more than welcome to attend both meetings if you so choose. But if we could at least have a few members at each meeting to answer questions and contribute to discussion, we'd surely appreciate that as well. So if you'll just,
Would you like names tonight as to who plans to be at which meeting?
I think that's something we can probably handle via email if you just want
Okay.
to send me your RSVPs.
Okay.
But please do, so I can get a sense of who's going to show up when. Okay. So in addition to that, we do have two additional sub items of business under the Route 66 roadside park. One, we would ask for you to recommend approval of the revised contract submitted to us by SWT Design to City Council. We will be taking that to City Council with your action tonight. And we, as a department, we are supporting this revised contract.
Okay, is there a motion for the contract?
I'll move that it be accepted.
Scott has moved. Is there, Steve has moved. Is there a second? Dan? Any comments or questions on this one? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Looks like we've got a contract approved.
All right, thank you very much. And then as a fun sub item, this afternoon, let's see if I can pull this up here. Or this morning, I should say. Our Assistant Director of Planning and I met with Ms. Roseanne Benson, who has volunteered to be our Route 66 roadside park project historian. So she comes to us with some planning experience. She was a volunteer on the University City Planning Commission. She's been a library trustee for Beverly, Massachusetts. She now lives in Wildwood with her 3 dogs, who you see on the screen before you.
I was
And
waiting
she-
for you to get to that.
And she has a very accomplished background in writing, both creative writing and technical. She's actually written her own children's books, and she's also a technical writer for medical publications. So she's got a very interesting background. She actually has experience doing write-ups on planning projects such as ours. So she is the perfect person to come to all our meetings with a camera and extensive note taking and tell the story of how the Route 66 roadside park came to be. So hopefully she meets with your approval, if nothing else, because of her dogs. You'll like her. She's a great person.
When will we meet her?
She will be coming to our student Route 66 task force.
Okay. Very good. So, but we don't need any action on our part right now.
Okay. I just wanted to introduce you.
Will she have her dogs with her?
No, I think she'll probably leave them at home.
One never knows anymore. Oh, so I guess that then takes us to the points of interest map.
Right. Well, Madam Chair, I have a presentation prepared for this one as well. As you can see, I've been busy getting together our cost proposals and cost estimates. We did hear back from Carkville Printing Company. I hope I'm not butchering their name. But they are the preferred printer for the Missouri official highway map. And they also print the well-known Rand McNally travel, like foldable travel maps. So they are very experienced in this area, and they provided us a very reasonable quote compared to what we paid for our past maps. So the department is recommending that we go forward with this printing company. And because of the very small variation in cost for the different number of map or quantity of maps that we proposed, I actually asked for quotes for 750, 1,000 and 2,000. And I think there was just maybe $150 worth of difference. So we decided to go with 2,000 because that should allow us to distribute them pretty freely as we have in the past. And then I have the total estimated project cost based on the range provided to us by our graphic designer as 8,970 to 12,970, which we will budget. So if that meets with your approval, I guess we will ask for a motion at this time to proceed with our project.
Jim, are you making the motion or do you have a question?
Yeah, that sounds like a good deal. I think that's probably the best way to go.
Makes sense.
So I make a motion that we accept that price and engage that company for our maps.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Alan? Any other discussion on it?
What will be the size of this map? How big will it be? The printed size?
I believe it's, I'm probably going to butcher it, but I think it's something around 38 by 42 or something, something around there. It's going to be very big, yes.
Does it come folded or do we have to fold it?
Nope, that's actually part of why we had to go with an out-of-state printer. They will fold it.
Okay,
You're off the hook for that, Steve.
yeah, okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve all of this on the printing of the points of interest map. All those in favor, please raise their hand. Very good. The motion has passed.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, so next I have provided for your review tonight shortened scenic road descriptions and points of interest. Also with some pictures that I have found in our files that I thought could go with them on the map. I've also taken the liberty of visiting each of our historic community markers and trying to assess from a traveler's perspective how they would go about figuring out where they are once they reach various parts of Wildwood. I will say that both Chair Stevens and I got quite lost trying to find the community marker for Monarch.
Well, I didn't get lost. I knew where I was. I just couldn't find the marker.
We couldn't find the marker, so we just went every which way, but we did find it. And we thought it prudent to at least have some sort of statement in there that let people know where to look for it as they're in these respective areas. So if you have any comments for me for our shortened points of interest map descriptions or points of interest, please go ahead and submit your comments by email over this next week. We'll give next Friday as the deadline. Let me see, next Friday would be July 1st.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want those just to you or to the entire group of folks here? Because that might get kind of cumbersome. I have a couple of comments.
Please,
I'm
yeah,
asking.
please just send them to me. And that will work for me. If there's any big picture comments you would like to offer now, if you don't like how it's being presented generally, please.
No. I
if
think
I'm
it's
off
great. I
track.
just have more suggestions that you can take or leave.
Oh, no, I understood what you were saying. I'm just saying if there's anything we would like to discuss as a group, please do. But if they are more like editing or maybe a fact needs to be changed or something, that's something you can just reach out to me.
Any other comments on this one? Okay, Robin, it was fantastic reading all of that. You've done a fantastic job.
Though I will have to commend all the work that came before me because I had something to work from.
Once again, we find another connection with an Etherton.
Yes. And then lastly, as a bonus sub item, our graphic designer did submit to me a version of the points of interest map. And I will actually bring that up on our screen so we can compare. Let me see if I can just share I'm going to share my screen. Okay, there's our points of interest map and okay. I want to share my actual screen. All right, does everyone see two maps?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I figured I would start just by putting these maps up on the screen together so you could see a little bit the direction that we're headed. As you can see, we're going more from a graphical depiction to an informative map that contains additional information layered on top of one another. So, and I will share this caveat that even the 11 by 17 is very, very small compared to the actual map that's going to be printed. So please understand that this is going to be blown up really big. So even if it looks like there's a lot of tiny details in it on this screen before you, just keep in mind it's going to be very clear when you're looking at it. We printed it out on our big printer and there was a substantial difference. So this evening, what you're looking at, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so we can talk about some of the details. So this map will include trail information and bicycle infrastructure information, as well as our historic community markers and our scenic roads and points of interest. Instead of having graphic icons, we have decided to go with simple circled numbers for our points of interest as our key. And then we decided to differentiate the scenic roads with a triangular symbol, which we have instructed our graphic designer to bring out a little more in terms of coloration. So what you see is not the final version of this map. The other department recommendation based on this version is that we perhaps not go with an H in our historic community marker icons because that is the universal symbol for hospital, and it just makes me think we have 11 hospitals all over Wildwood. So we're going to ask her to change those icons a little bit and perhaps bring out the bicycle infrastructure lines just a little bit more to match with the weight that we have or the thickness for the foot trails. But here it is before you to comment on as you so choose, and I will do my best to communicate your comments to our graphic designer.
Are you're able to print this in full size? You have a printer?
Yes.
I just wonder, could we have a draft of this maybe just to pass around this Saturday to show people? Think they'd be interested?
I can certainly bring this with me on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting just to look at and talk about, and not having a copy for everyone, but just a copy to look at and to talk about.
My thought too is for our next meeting, assuming substantial progress on graphic design, I may also provide full-size versions of the map at that time for everybody to look at and comment on. I just didn't think we were far enough along for me to want to do it for this one.
Right.
Any other questions for Robin on this? I think it looks wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
This is Elizabeth. I just glanced at this, Robin. What about the one of the road on, you just put it up there. They're all three together. And I tried to separate it and make a copy of it, but I couldn't. Because they're all together on the screen. Is it possible, because I'm in communication with the St. Louis recreational cyclists who I'm going to meet next Wednesday at their board meeting, and they are interested in participating in the Wildwood. It's not a fair, it's what Celebrate Wildwood. And I've already talked with the president, and I think Ms. Ripito knows about this as well. And I'd like to have a map, if I can, of where Route 66 is on, and where the parade's going, quite honestly, because I'm thrilled that the theme is going to be Route 66. And they are too. So I don't know how many riders we'll have, but I'm going to meet with them next week. And if there's any way I can get just a copy of that so I can make more copies, I can do that. Not this, but the road. Do you know which one I'm talking about? The one in the top right-hand corner?
I'm sorry, the what?
The one, the picture, in the top right-hand corner that you sent us.
Oh, you mean the Wildwood business map?
Yes,
This one.
that one. Is there any way I can have some copies of that?
You can, but I do have a caveat for you. This is a very old map. So if you're looking for accurate business information, it is not the best map. I've been using it more as a visual for explaining to people where our Route 66 corridor is in relation to our town center. So if you're using it solely for illustrative purposes, then it's a good map. If you're using it for informational purposes, then it's an outdated map.
I'm really looking for an illustration map.
Okay.
So if I can just, I don't know how I get copies of those, and how large are they? Do you know about that?
I could print you out. How many copies do you need?
I think the board members, I would probably need, I think I need 12.
I can print out 12 11 by 17s. Will that work for you?
They don't even have to be that big.
Okay. Well, I'll either print it out on 11 by 17s or 8.5 by 11s.
Whatever works. I
Okay.
just need the street numbers too. That would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I've got a comment on the map, if I may.
Oh, I think our chair went frozen. Chair Stevens, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Yes. Steve, we can't hear what you're saying. You're muted. Steve. Steve, there you go. Oh, we still can't hear him.
No. He's talking.
He's talking to the wind, I think.
He's talking.
Vice Chair Scott, I think you are muted somehow. You're not muted on this platform, but you're muted on your computer maybe? Do you have an audio setting? Unfortunately, I don't have a chat option, but I do think, oh, well, hold on. I've never used the whiteboard. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I wonder if I put a whiteboard, am I the only one who can draw on it? I've just never used this feature. But unfortunately, we disabled our chat feature. Okay, I don't see a way for other people to use the whiteboard. Okay, I'm sorry. I think we lost Mr. Scott.
I've totally lost him, I think. I don't see him.
Maybe he's gonna rejoin.
Let's hope. So was there anything else you wanted to talk about on the points of interest map, Robin?
Well, mainly I was just seeking your feedback and comments. Generally, do you like where we're headed with this new version of the map?
I think it's great.
I'm for it.
Excuse me, Robin, when could I pick those up? My meeting is on next Wednesday on the 29th.
I can print them off tomorrow morning and you can pick them up anytime. Just give me a time and I'll have them out there for you.
I don't mind if it's next week, but because I know you have a lot on your plate for Saturday, so I can pick them up on Monday.
That sounds great.
You'll leave them with Miss Waters?
Yes, I'll leave them with Ms.
And I
Waters.
don't have to interrupt your day.
Okay, any other comments on the points of interest map? We need a motion to continue with this version, or have we already done that before tonight?
I think generally we have, I think generally everyone is accepting of this direction and we've taken motions accordingly.
Excuse me, can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I had to leave and come back in.
So we didn't hear anything you had to say. So is there
Okay.
anything you want to add at this time?
Yeah, I'm sorry to get out of order here. Looking at your, I blew up your, the map you said. It looks like the Grover historical marker is on 100, not on Manchester or 66. And the pond is kind of too far west. Those are the only two comments I had. So maybe get a little better idea of where they really are.
All right, I will, Mr. Scott, have that comment or have that conversation with our graphic designer. And my guess is she probably based this off of our last map, which
Right.
was a little less accurate. And this time, I think we want to make sure that they are positioned where the actual markers are versus just the general area. So great comments, and I will work with her on that.
Great. Okay. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Okay, anything else? Well, it looks like we're ready to move on to the next item. Discussion of Essen Log Cabin use and location.
All right. For this one, I am going to pull up a visual aid. So if you'll give me just a moment to share my screen. Okay, so for Essen Log Cabin, I believe our Director of Planning would like to be a part of these conversations. So he has summarized where we are at in the conversation in preparation for a more in-depth discussion and action next month. So to summarize generally what we have decided as a commission, the cabin will have electrical service to it, but no other utility connects. I apologize. This is the department inference of what we're looking at with the cabin based on our discussion with the commission last month. The cabin will accommodate accessibility at its front door, but it will not be accessible to its second floor. The cabin will offer reserved tours of limited group sizes, specifically for school children and other groups of a similar nature. The cabin will not be rentable for special events like weddings or receptions. The cabin can be used for photographic opportunities from its exterior at any time, and the footprint of the site will be designed to provide full access around it. The cabin, if placed in a public park or other city-owned property, can share available parking and will not require additional parking spaces to be constructed. And finally, the cabin's new foundation and roof must complement the reconstructed cabin and maintain key design cues from the time frame of it, which is estimated to be the late 1800s. So generally, do you feel that these parameters make sense given the discussion and action that was taken at the last meeting?
Jim?
That's what we.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. When it says the cabin will offer reserved tours, who will provide the tour? Who will be the tour guides?
I assume that's still up for debate. I think at this time we're focusing on the type of uses that can be expected at the cabin, not necessarily going in the weeds of how we provide such educational tours and pay for them.
Okay, I have no problem with these recommendations.
I assume that an arrangement could be made with the Wildwood Historical Society to let them, if they want to sponsor something there, some demonstrations or tours, even the Rockwood School District to do that with different groups that we know are responsible and will take care of it and will actually improve upon what may be there. So,
If I may, in my discussions with our CLG coordinator, my understanding is we can actually apply for an unlimited number of CLG grants at a time, all up to that $50,000 match. And that education activities is one of, it is something that they would fund. So I was actually thinking that potentially we could pursue a CLG grant in the future once we get to the point where we're offering education at the cabin.
Elizabeth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At our last meeting, someone recommended the location being in the town center, not town center, the
Village Green?
the Village Green. I'm sorry, couldn't come to me. And I was wondering, was that a final? I don't even remember voting on it or anything like that. I think it was just a discussion. Has the location been determined yet, Robin?
The location of the cabin has not been determined. I think we've narrowed it down to 3 potential options, including Village Green, Community Park, and Glencoe City Park. That will be the discussion and focus of our July meeting is what I understand, and we will be providing site plans at that time with proposed locations at those properties.
Okay, thank you.
Dave?
yeah, I believe, each of these sites should be reviewed and visited several times with a planner. Now, I don't know, will we be using pattern knives for the actual construction of the cabin or not? Or we'll have to hire an architect to do that. whoever that may be, I would say we should go around and look and discuss what the best location is, what's the most historical, what's the safest, what's the most usable, what's the most accessible, and look at all of these site options. And then see if this can be shoehorned into the village green, or the other sites really have more room for the cabin.
I think that the location, as I understand it, will be a big discussion item at the July meeting, correct, Robin?
That is correct, and I can also have a conversation with Director Vunich about potentially scheduling a multi-site visit day for Essen Log Cabin specifically. I will say that we are now going into the heat of summer, so it probably won't be quite as pleasant as the last one.
Yeah, I just think that these visits should also be with someone who can give us a good historical evaluation of a proper location for this cabin.
I will reach out to my contacts at the State Historic Preservation Office and see if anybody would volunteer to assist us, if that might be one resource we can tap.
I'll sure put my 2 cents in, but there should be somebody else.
Okay, so we'll continue that conversation next month.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I wonder if it would be appropriate for us to add a statement in there about furnishings of the cabin, that it ought to be furnished in a period style appropriate with its age, and that we do something, maybe a committee that's established to view the things that are put in there, or they have to pass some kind of inspection. But I would hate to see it just be an empty building, because I think what adds to the cabin is the furnishings and the stories that those furnishings often bring with them. I'm just wondering if it's appropriate that we talk about that now, or if you think it's too early. You know, when I hear people talking about having meetings in the cabin as they were at previous meetings, you know, I thought, well, that's not my view at all. My view would be that it would be a cabin with things inside it that are period furnished.
No, I think that's very, very true, because I think we visited the Phelps cabin. There's nothing in it. It needs to be furnished, which I'm sure he will do as time goes on. But I do think that another cabin that I would like to visit is the mayor's cabin, and you can see it has been furnished. So I think the furnishings are very important, that they be accurate, and a subcommittee or group or somebody, I think, should be responsible for approving and assembling that, and actually figuring out where it comes from. Do we ask for donations? Do we ask for loans, say loans from the Historical Society, or loans from private individuals that would go there and be, you know, noted with a plaque or something like that? So we would need, once it's there, we will need to furnish it. And I think that's a very important part of the cabin.
Jim?
Will this have to be ADA compliant?
Yes, it will, but I think that we are making it accessible from the first floor, which is appropriate to do under ADA without interfering with the integrity of the second.
Okay.
Also, the cabin that's in Velasquez Park, to Baldwin Historical Society, it is furnished, and periodically it is open. And I'm certain if we wanted to go as a commission to see what they have done, they would probably do a private tour for us. But that's another one that we could look at.
So if I may, My perspective as a planner, I think at this moment, the items summarized before you have more to do with how they're going to impact where a location is chosen for the cabin and site design.
Mhm.
Whereas the furnishings of the cabin are probably a consideration down the road,
Yes,
because I don't know that that would affect necessarily the location of it.
correct. But,
Agreed.
you know, one step at a time.
Agreed.
Anything else on this? Okay. I don't believe we need a vote on anything at this time, correct, Robin?
That is correct. This was just a summary only.
Okay. The update on the 2022 work program.
Yes. So I think there was only one item that I wanted to touch on from the work program. You will see any updates in red for yourself. But we have moved forward on the Wildwood history book in that we have hired, we are currently in the process of contracts, so I don't want to say it's official yet. But we have hired a copy editor for our book, and I'm just going to bring up her resume on share screen because you'll see exactly why we are absolutely 100% confident that that Mary Andino is the right choice for copy editor. She has her PhD in history from WashU here in St. Louis. And she has work experience as a managing editor currently for Feast magazine, but she was also an associate editor for South Dakota, the State Historical Society. And so she was very much involved in their publications at the state level. So we have absolute confidence that with her writing and editing background in combination with her PhD in history, from a very prestigious school, that she will provide us some great insight on our Wildwood history book. And our first task for her is to take a look at the book in whole and make some recommendations to us about potentially that last chapter and some of the areas that I think we all remain unsure about in relation to it. So I think she'll have some great feedback for us on that score, and I think she'll be a wonderful editor for bringing the whole book into a very polished publication once we take it to print. So that is my update there, and do you have any comments or questions for me? Crickets. Are we all generally happy that we have a copy editor?
Oh,
for the
I'm thrilled.
I think that's just exactly what's needed to bring this book together. So, and better sooner than later.
And we're still aiming for a winter release of the book. Is that correct?
Yes, we're hoping to release it in February of 2023 at the latest. Though honestly, strategically, it might be the best time for us to release a book because there won't be other competing events. So we just want to take our time and plan a very nice book launch when we're ready to go to publish.
Okay, anything else on the work program? We're all very busy and there's a lot going on. So we have to just take, as we said, one step at a time on each of these items. Still no action on the Cotton Park sign. That'll be coming up later. New business, there are no items. The demolition request on the St. Albans Road property. Is that correct, Robin?
That's right. I believe my update at this time is simply that this letter is still being reviewed by city administration. Again, I believe we're just taking our time to make sure that we do it right this time and that we have the appropriate buy-in we need to move forward.
Okay.
yeah.
The next item is the new coordinator. You've spoken about him during the evening. More information that you wish to share?
I suppose the only thing I will bring up on the screen is a photo of Mr. John Peterson next to a giant skull. That's because he has more of an archaeology background than an architectural one. But he's been already a ginormous help to us. I can't tell you. I sat down with him within the week of him starting at the State Historic Preservation Office. He didn't even have a working phone. In fact, our meeting cut off midway because I don't know. Oh yeah, City Hall lost power. We lost internet for the rest of the day, but he was still so enthused by our discussions around Route 66, Esson Log Cabin, and all our city projects that he went and talked to like 4 or 5 different individuals in the State Historic Preservation Office, and so I've been having discussions all over the place this week. So very enthusiastic CLG coordinator, very helpful, very excited to help us in Wildwood. So I welcome John Peterson to our team.
Sounds wonderful. We can use all the help we can find, correct? I hope that everyone has read the article that's in the West Magazine this week. Robin sent us a version online. So seeing the pictures with the one that Robin sent, I was disappointed when I got the actual West Magazine and there were no pictures with it. But it was a great article, and it was nice to be at city council meeting to present things to the mayor. Robin?
There were 2 pictures with the article. I don't know if they just didn't convert. Well, no, I sent you a link, right?
Right. I got the pictures there, but my copy that I received in the mail has no
Oh.
pictures.
Okay, so the online version had pictures. and
Right.
Oh, I
The
didn't
print
see
copy.
the online version, but yeah, the one I got in the mail didn't.
No, but it's getting the word out, not just to a few people, but it's getting out to the area, and that's what we want. We want more visibility of what is going on. I started my presentation to the mayor with, I'm here doing something different tonight because 2 separate months I have appeared at the council meeting had requested proclamations for 2 of my groups who were celebrating their 100th anniversaries. And the proclamations were beautiful, and the framing of it was just absolutely unbelievable. And everyone in my groups was just amazed that the city would put a frame on the proclamation like they did. And I just want to get that word out to everyone connected with that it was very much appreciated. But I said, I'm here not to get something from you tonight, but I'm here to give you something. And when he came down to actually receive the award and also the resolution from the House of Representatives, he said, this is something different. So it was, I wanted to put a little light feel to it as well. But I think he was very pleased that we took the effort to, we had quite a few of our commission there. So that was really nice to see. And it was a lively city council meeting, that was for certain. So anything else that we need to chat about tonight?
I've got one thing I'm wondering about. Last meeting or so, we briefly discussed a plan that's up apparently before planning and zoning about subdivision of property that's off of Melrose and 100. And it included an old historic house that they wanted to remove. I don't know if that's progressed any further and when it's going to come before us. But I went by that house and it is sound, very sound, but there are windows that have been removed and are just wide open. The weather is getting in there. The building is full of trash. And I'm just, it is going to fall apart if they let it sit for another year like that, waiting to submit a request for demolition. And we'll have to give it to them then. But it is well worth it. And I think looking at the plan they have of subdividing that property, it could be saved and set as a separate lot. But that's beyond the point. But is there something in our housing code or our building code that would enforce that they maintain that building, that they close up the windows, that they do make it weatherproof? And that'd be my question is, I think they're just letting that building go wide open. It's open to vandalism. It's open to all kinds of problems. We could very well get another Bellevue Farms fire there. Looking at the condition of it, I think it should be secured for safety reasons as well as for preservation reasons. And I would just ask the city, what powers do they have to somehow control that and not let it go down like the Pond Hotel did?
Melanie?
Thank you. I will bring this to code enforcement, and yes, that is definitely 100% a safety concern, and do our best to get it addressed quickly. So it is something that we can handle to some degree. Like we can have the building boarded up if they don't do it themselves, but having it unsecured is concerning. So we'll take care of it.
So I would look at it, a safety approach first, but really my long-term goal is to save the building. And anybody else, I would just suggest pull off and stop there. You can walk up and look at it. It's a big house. It's a very interesting house. And I don't know, you could climb inside if you want to, but I didn't try.
Rob?
Yeah, I have a special connection to that house. Most of you know, my first time in it was when I was 2 days old, and I have since been in the attic and crawling around underneath it, around it, through it. The folks that lived there were sort of pack rats. I suspect that some of the trash left there was just stuff that they didn't, think had any value whatsoever when they left the house. But I suspect, as Steve does, that this is a strategic move. Remove a few of the windows and maybe take some of the fancier woodwork on the outside of it, and sell it down on Cherokee Street. And meanwhile, the house gets rotten and is too far gone, and then they get to knock it down just sort of by default. I think that's dirty pool myself. I don't have any reason to. I'm probably talking through my hat to say that, or at least exposing myself to some sort of criticism, if not a lawsuit. But I really, I think it's suspicious that windows disappeared and so forth shortly after the home was built are sold. And so I'm hoping that we can do just what Steve suggested and maybe try to save it as part of the plan. That's on my agenda for sure as this moves forward. So I don't think we'll lose sight of it, but it's a good house to preserve.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Jim?
Yeah, is the property still with the original owner, or has, I believe Wayland Homes is the one that's going to develop this. Is Wayland the developer? I mean, is he the owner now?
I believe so, but I can't verify that. I know that he's already submitted plans to the city, which are, it's called West Eden. The development will be called West Eden. So that'll be the buzzword going forward, the name for it. The development itself seems responsible in terms of the, the contours of the land that they're respecting and the common ground that they're intending to leave, and the reasonable lot sizes and so forth. And so I expect to have few complaints about the environmental impacts of the place, because they have every right to develop it in accordance with our zoning. But that house, we really should try to save it. But I don't think he would have gone any further. I looked on the tax records about 2 weeks ago when this first came up, and it still was in the Tice family. Emil Tice was the guy's name, but sometimes those records are slow to change.
Yeah, I was just wondering who's the entity that the city needs to deal with to negotiate this.
That's a Melanie question.
We will look into it and we will make sure it happens.
They have not a lot, but several pieces of construction equipment located around that house. It looks like they are using that as the center point or the working point for their
Staging area.
subdivision development.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to having a report back on what you are able to do with that. Thank you, Melanie, for filling us in. Anything else? Well, it was a full agenda and we just breezed right through it. I think we're all just so excited and just keep plugging along. I do have one request, Robin. Maybe some others also would appreciate the updated roster, if you could send that out by email, because there are people on the screen here tonight who aren't on the last one that I received, so I don't have their contact information. So
We'll do that.
anything else? I was encouraged when you had said that that is updated each time there is a change, because I was thinking you were going to have to recreate the whole thing. And I didn't want you to be doing that with all this going on right now. So it won't be too hard to get that out, I guess. So.
No, Chair Stevens, your term had already been updated on.
Oh my
on
goodness.
the printed out for tonight's roll call.
Okay. Okay, then I guess we are waiting for a motion for adjournment.
Motion to
And?
adjourn.
Dan has moved that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second,
Who was that?
Alan.
Oh, okay, fine. Been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor of adjournment, please raise your hand. We may be adjourned. Thank you very much for all of your work and comments this evening. We really appreciate it.
See you
And
later.
see a lot of you on Saturday.
Good
All right, buddy.
document. Thanks you all for your volunteering and hard work as well.